Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Listen, doing an old-fashioned style podcast type show just with audio only today. And the reason why is between Montreal and Halifax, there's some sort of a break in the fiber optics connection for the internet. And my speeds today on my internet are something similar to the old dial-up. So it's going to be a long time uploading this. It's going to be very difficult to upload. So audio only is the way to go, and so that's what we're going to do today. Audio only. We got the election today. Oh, it's big time, and they're counting the votes. We're going to have to wait until tonight. We'll start to see which way this is going to swing. 77% of Americans now think that there's going to be some sort of civil unrest or some sort of problems with this election, and that only leaves a small minority of 20, I think it's 28%, something like that believe that it's all going to go through very smoothly. Smoothly, no, I don't think so, and this election could open the door for something called MMT. Now, I'm going to explain to you guys something about MMT. If you guys don't know what MMT is, it's modern monetary theory. And it's the belief that the government can print as much money as they want, basically, and have different social programs like universal basic income, where they send money to just about everybody that's not working to support them, and other programs within the government where they spend a lot of money, and they can finance these programs with modern monetary theory. The belief is that this is not going to cause profoundly high inflation, and the reason why is several reasons. One is they're just going to raise taxes. And this is one of the reasons that they believe that the MMT is not going to be a problem, because as people pay these funds back in taxes, of course, this negates the amount of money that they printed, But, things don't work that way, because let's take a quick examination of this, and just think about these households, that they're sending out these checks to. Maybe they've lost their job, and it sounds great. Just send them money, because they're not going to get another job, because they've basically destroyed our economy, So they send them money. Well, say they send them $2,000 a month. Well, there might be people in the neighborhood that's working right now. And, they've already, they only earn maybe $2,200 a month, And here the guy next door, he's getting $2,000 a month. All of a sudden they're going to raise taxes? Well, okay, let the rich pay for it. Let the 1% pay all these taxes. Oh, that sounds great, and then we can work out our MMT and we can have our MMT. But the thing about the rich? They always figure out a way to get around taxes. They ain't gonna pay it. They'll scoot off to some other country, or they'll scoot off to some place where there's a tax haven, or they'll find a loophole or whatever. It just ain't gonna happen. I'm sorry, but it isn't gonna happen. The rich are not gonna pay like a 60% or 70% or 90% tax, or whatever they want to put it at. Whatever outrageous figure they want to put at, the rich aren't going to pay it. So then they say, well, we got to put this MMT in. We got to get this thing in. We got to get it through. Because, all these people are suffering, and we need to get this new central bank digital currency out there so we can pump the system full of money. We'll just raise taxes on the middle class then. If the rich aren't willing to pay it, let's the middle class pay it. Okay, so they put a big tax burden on the middle class. The guy's making $2,200. Remember him? He lives next to the guy that's on MMT and is getting the UBI, and he's making $2,000 a month. Suddenly, they hit him with a profoundly high tax bill every year. Well, at the same time, inflation is going up. And so the people out there, heck, they just about got to spend all of their wages, to live. And then they're going to hit them with a big tax bill? Well, suddenly the guy sits there and scratches his head and he says, you know what, Martha? You know what? Guy next door is making $2,000 a month. I'm making $2,200. Working hard like a dog. And they're going to take it all from me in taxes. And now, paying off these taxes, I'm not making as much as the guy next door that's on the dole. So she says, Harvey, quit your job. Yes, I think I will, and I'll apply. I'll apply for the modern monetary theory, the new universal basic income. I'll get on it too. So, this is the way it'll go. With profoundly high inflation, less and less people are going to be working. And what's with this thing? Everybody's going to work from home. Well, yeah, I know. I work from home here. This is my job, keeping you guys informed, I work for YouTube, and this is my job. And the thing is look at today. I'm sitting here and my internet connection's down. So what we've done is we're moving into this new strange world, and we've went whole hog for it, Now going back years and years ago, they didn't have all these computers, or if the internet wasn't even on besides go down, nobody worried about going down or what. I mean, it was like a novelty. Back around the year 2000, going back to, say, 1996. Okay? The internet was like a novelty. It was on again, it was off again. We never relied upon it for anything much. Now everybody works from home. Everybody's on the internet. Everybody needs the internet. Internet goes down. Nobody can work, for crying out loud. I was sitting here worrying this morning, saying to myself, hey, my internet's down. How many days is this going to stay down? And how's it going to affect my work, my productivity? Because, I can't do my show, But everybody's in the same boat now. They put us all in the same boat of relying upon this stupid internet. The whole thing is starting to crack apart. The whole system, the whole structure of the system starting to crack apart. And, I was thinking to myself, hey, how can we fix this? I was just playing with thoughts in my head, and I was just sitting here mulling it away, one evening there, sipping on a little bit of a root beer, and I added a little shot of vodka to it, and sipping on my root beer, sitting here one evening. I think it was last evening, to tell you the truth, and I was feeling pretty damn mellow. Anyway, guys, the long and short of it is, I thought about this and thought about it. How can we fix this? How can we fix America? How can we fix the system? And I got thinking about how they used to live back in the 1800s. Didn't have any electricity. Didn't have any internet. Didn't have anything, but they got along just fine, And they had a structure of a system, and how they communicated. Well, going back a bit earlier, they had the communication was a Pony Express. They used to have riders, and they get a fresh horse, and they put the mail on the back of the fresh horse, and they'd gallop off as fast as he could go with the mail, When that horse got tired, he'd stop, and he'd already have a station with another guy waiting with another fresh horse. And he'd gallop off as fast as he can. And you'd be surprised how quick that they could get that mail across the country, They would probably average 20, 25 miles per hour. They could get the mail across the country. Now, that don't sound like much. But think about it for a minute, You get a hurricane that's down near Florida someplace, And it's only traveling like 10 miles per hour, half the speed of the Pony Express. And, I mean, it can travel all the way across America because, see, it's steady. It's traveling at a steady 10 miles an hour. It can travel all the way across North America in like a day or two, which is not real long, and that's how they used to get the mail across America. But then they came up with the telegraph. Oh, my goodness. Could travel across those telegraph wires, and it'd be on the other side of America instantaneously. Oh, my lands, what a wonderful invention the telegraph was. So I got thinking about this for a minute, and how the people lived their lives back then. Well, the whole East Coast, or say the West Coast. Okay, let's say the West Coast. The West Coast of America. We're talking about California. Say California slid off into the ocean in the 1800s. Well, the people on the East Coast would be sitting over there with no change in their lifestyle. It's because there was no interdependencies. Now what they've done is they've created a society where, yes, we have speed of information. But if the West Coast of America now were to slide off into the ocean, instantaneously everything would go dead on the East Coast. The whole power grid would go down. Everything would go down. We'd all be in duck soup. Whereas back in the 1800s, if the West Coast slid off into the ocean in a giant earthquake, well, it would take 3 or 4 days before we'd even know about it on the East Coast, and there would be little or no change to our lives, because even though we got the information, some courier would come and say, hey, you guys hear the latest newspaper? The little kids would be out selling it for a penny. Read all about it. West Coast slides off into the ocean. And the people would go home and they'd read at lunchtime what happened on the West Coast, and they'd say, oh, isn't that an awful tragedy? Oh, my gosh, But it wouldn't affect their daily lives that much. They would still be working on the farm, still planting their potatoes for fall and everything else, And what would happen is, on the West Coast, people would be repairing the damage from the catastrophe. But now we've interlocked the whole system together so that the West Coast goes down in a giant earthquake and slides off into the ocean. It breaks the power grid down, and the people on the East Coast can't do anything either. In fact, what happens then is it affects the whole ecosystem of the whole Earth is affected. So what we've essentially done is created a system that is much more. It's weaker. It's a weaker structure of a system. It doesn't work properly because it's so tied in together. The financial system's all tied together. If one country goes down, or one big bank goes down, it can carry down other countries that are connected into it. What we've done by all these connections is created something that is much weaker, something that can't take the stress or shock of a event that could carry it down. Like me, for instance. This break that occurred in the internet might be all the way up in Montreal, but it's affecting me here over 1,000 miles away. It's affecting how I can get the news out and everything. It's all these interreliances. So how do we get the structure back to where we have a world, North America here, so that we are strong again? Because right now we are weak and vulnerable. Yes, we are. We've put all our dependence on a system that has just-in-time supply chains linked all the way through it. So we are weak and vulnerable, and our lives are in jeopardy by this system. So I got thinking about it a bit longer, and I said to myself, I got it. What we need to do is we can keep our high technology that we have, our technological base. We can keep that technological base. But we need to restructure the system in a way so that its integrity of the system itself is actually strong. We need a model. We need instead of stepping forward so quickly, we need to take 2 or 3 or 4 steps backwards and take a look at how our system used to be structured and how our systems used to be structured back in the 1800s. And take an example for that, you know. All of our laws and everything, what we need to do is we need to remodel it, retool everything, right down to the core. These things that we put in to try to make our lives easier are actually making our lives harder, you know. Things like income taxes and things like all of these different departments that we put in, like things like the Department of Agriculture, the Department of this, and Homeland Security, and all, blah, blah, blah. We keep putting all these new departments in. And every time we put in a new department, we're making the structure of the system weaker, not stronger. Take a look at the structure of the system, how it got along, and how the laws were in place back in the 1800s. Yes, we had an America back then, but it was a constitutional America. It had laws, and it had the Constitution that was much more upheld than it is today, you know. And I don't believe they had income tax back then, and our money was gold. Our money was silver. We should take a closer look and a closer examination of the way things were, and instead of jumping into the way things will be, maybe set things up in a way so things are the way they were. So instead of moving so gung-ho into the future and setting up this, what we consider to be a utopic society, which really is going to turn out to be something out of an Orwell novel like 1984, or maybe the Brave New World might be a good example of how things will line up, you know. Do we really want a society where we all have to get zonked out on Soma every day in order just to get through the drudgery of life? Do we want to create that for ourselves? Do we want a black future for us and our children? Or will we rather have a society that's delightful? Something like we had back in the 1800s, you know? Before we tried to put in all these new laws and everything to try to modify our life to be better. Because all these things, all they're really doing is making our life much, much worse, you know? And so I'm thinking to myself, hey, you know, there's a time coming in the very near future, not too far away, where they've put all these laws and everything in, and what's happening is now these laws are starting to conflict with one another. They're starting to conflict with us. And they're hampering our life to where our productivity is going to go down to zip. There's going to be no productivity. And if that keeps happening, if we keep moving in that direction, ultimately it's going to lead to the starvation of the masses. It's already leading us there. In fact, we've got reports from the UN and stuff that say, you know, the world's population is going to go hungry. Look out, look out, look out. Everybody's going to go hungry very soon. Why? We should be able to feed the entire world. With our modern technology and our new forms of agriculture and everything else, we should be able to feed everyone. What's happening? What's happening is too many laws, too many new programs, too many new departments. What's happened is governments run amok. And, of course, within the structure of government, you have all these guys in there. They're like festering little, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're on the take. All through instead of making government larger and larger and larger, what we need to do is we need to shrink it down to where it's just the essence. All that's left of government is the essence. And you know, we have computers now. We really don't need all these departments and people. We can put it all on blockchain. And just have maybe 2 people running the entire department, where right now there's like 20,000 people working that department. Get rid of them all. Put it on blockchain, just have oversight of small amount of actual people that have oversight over it. We have the technology now to downsize government, to cut off all the fat. It's just like, if you got a tree and it's not producing fruit for you, you go out and you prune it. It's time to prune off all of this crap that's growing up everywhere, all these weeds that are sucking from the system, before we all starve to death, Anyway, I've ranted on a little bit, guys, but I think that we need to take a serious look at the structure of the way things were back in the 1800s and how it was run. And yeah, keep our technology, But the thing is downsize all the rest. Prune off all the things, all of this stuff, these lower branches that are sapping from the tree, and there's no productivity from them, and all of these departments and everything else that they've created and generated for all these years that they put in and they never take out, all these new laws they put in and never take out, are oppressing the people to the point where the people can't function. And if all this crap isn't pruned off the tree and done soon, there's going to be a substantial portion of the world's population that's going to basically not go hungry. They're going to go hungry. It's as simple as that. Because our productivity is going to keep dropping and dropping and dropping. And, it's going to be more and more of the same. It doesn't matter who you elect. They're all on the take. So today is the election. Today is the big election. Well, we're going to see who wins. But I'm not hopeful for them to really make things the way things should be. The way things should be is less laws, not more. Open things up for the people so that the people can do basically whatever they want. You say, well, that will create lawlessness. Actually, no, it won't. It'll do exactly the opposite. If you make it so that people can do whatever they want, with certain exceptions, people should not be allowed to steal. They should not be allowed to commit capital crimes. But, right now they got all these laws in place, and that's exactly what people are doing. More and more so. People are getting more and more frightened because, it's not stopping lawlessness. And back in the 1800s, there wasn't near as much lawlessness, even though there wasn't so many laws. Now, it doesn't seem to make sense. It seems like, okay, you make a law for everything, then the world will be under the law and everybody will be good and behave. But no, it works exactly the opposite, So if you take all those laws away, what would happen? Well, maybe people would really start to behave again. Look at the school system. They'll bus a kid. They'll bus him like 50 miles. 20 miles, whatever they need, whatever they have to do, What was wrong with the old way we used to have it with small school rooms, and the kid could walk to school? Couldn't we have it that way again? Couldn't we have it so that teachers don't need to qualify through all these courses and everything else and then work for a school board and all this crap? Can't we have it so if a woman wants to teach in her home, she just can't, she can't just go ahead and start teaching and start charging people in the neighborhood to teach their kids? And they could just have like 30 students in the school, and the school be in a local neighborhood? Couldn't she just get her curriculum off the internet, So many things need fixing, and so little time to fix it. They've got us in this interdependent system that's getting ready to collapse. And if it collapses, who's going to feed us? Simple as that. Who's going to feed us if this system collapses? And they've taken it to the verge of collapse right now. And what's going to happen in this election? If America were to collapse, what would happen to the rest of the world? It would all collapse. They've put all of our lives in jeopardy. And when are we going to wake up from our cell phones and say, hey, you know what? What in the heck's going on? Thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.